Hey guys, this is John with Area 419.
This is Craig.
I'm excited to introduce you to a product that we've been working on for almost a year now, the Maverick recoil suppression system.
Guys, typically we do these videos in about a minute to make them quick. This is going to be a much longer video because we want to talk about why it was made, how it was made, and things like that. But if you've only got a minute, here's what you need to know.
So it was late 2018, early 2019. There was a suppressor company out there, now defunct, that was promising to reduce recoil with a suppressor. What it turned out is the suppressor was just super heavy, but it got the thought in our heads, what could we do with a suppressor to reduce recoil?
The Maverick story is one that is similar to some other Area 419 stories, and it starts with a conversation of what if or how would we. Ultimately, the thought was, well, if we took a regular suppressor and we cut it in half so that air could actually get out of it and feed a muzzle brake, I wonder if it could work.
How can we make a Hellfire and a suppressor work together to control recoil? The main job of a suppressor is to slow down gases, let them expand, and exit the suppressor very slowly. Well, that just doesn't work when you're trying to put a muzzle brake on the end of a suppressor. Trying to work within our means at the time, so we went with a baffle in tube design. What we ended up with was your typical kind of K baffle design, just we kept the first 3 baffles with a very large bore in them to make sure we could pass a lot of gas to the brake.
Obviously, there were lots of iterations of that didn't work. There were parts that were made wrong and failed, and you learn things from the failures, and you learn things from assuming that what other people are doing is correct, and then figuring out that what they're doing maybe isn't perfect. So when we finally got to the point that we had shootable Mavericks, they didn't really look like the ones that we sell today. They were a little goofy, but it was a great test bed for us to start to understand just how complex suppressors can be.
To keep it a suppressor when you wanted to be quiet, the second stage had just a typical over bullet bore baffles in it. A lot of time was spent with those. We had a meter, but a lot of it was just guys standing outside shooting and not looking to see what sounded the best. A lot of our effort at that point was focused on shooter comfort, not wanting to send gases backwards towards the shooter, but mostly what we wanted to control was muzzle flip, which is really what takes you off target.
Over the years, what we realized is lots of people never even used that second half of the suppressor. From the time we started showing up at matches and I was sending them around to people and challenging people who were excellent shooters to shoot this next to their brake, we knew very quickly that our core ethos of it's got to be better for us to not eat muzzle blast.
The Gen 1 port design was very upward facing. There was no rearward facing. I believe one of the first ones we made actually drove the muzzle down too much, so we had to kind of tune that to find the right balance. One of the serious challenges we faced and faced all the way through Gen 1 production was just how difficult that thing was to make. Because we were working within our means, we were not a laser welding company or anything like that.
We knew that we had kind of cracked the nut. There were lots of things about Maverick we didn't know when we made it, honestly. And over that 7 years, we've learned a huge amount. And that's put us in a position to really be somewhere we think with Maverick Gen 2.
So we needed to figure out how can we make more of these things while keeping quality up, keeping it made here in the US. We had been friends for a while with Kyle at KG, and we just started talking to them about, can you make us basically just a revised version of the Maverick? There was really nothing we didn't like about the Maverick other than we couldn't make it in the quantities that we really wanted to. When we started looking at the brake for the Gen 2, a lot has changed since when we were making Gen 1 brakes originally. Back then we were doing it on a lathe with live tooling but no B-axis, meaning we can't really work at an angle to the bar. Now we have 2 NTX mill turn centers that basically one of them cranks out Hellfires all day long, and we have a second one we had some open time on, so now we can do a few more things with the brake that we couldn't at the time. So we decided to angle the ports back like a Hellfire slightly. They're not quite as aggressive as a Hellfire on the Gen 2 brake to get just the right amount of nose down, but also recoil management that we just couldn't get with the Gen 1 brake.
With the second generation of Maverick, we had a few goals. One, hub compatibility made a lot of sense. We wanted to get that done. Check. We wanted to be able to magnum rate these. It is fully welded. We wanted the suppressor to actually be a little bit softer sounding. We are getting the same amount of flatness of muzzle control on flip, but we're actually reducing the amount of overall linear recoil by about 9% on our mid-size cartridges. So let's call that a 6.5 Creedmoor. That's exactly the kind of thing we wanted to see. Can it be a little softer to your ear? It also be a little bit softer on recoil and maintain all of that control that we're looking for. And we wanted to make the Gen 2 brake that's truly excellent available to as many people as possible. So we started working on adapters for the end of your suppressors, a Scythe or an Omega or a 36M or a Thunderbeast RR or the Banish 30 V2 or an Able can or AB, the Reflex can. There's a huge variety of things that we're going to make that available for, and that's going to grow and grow. Being able to give people that versatility and that benefit in a broad sense is something that we're excited to do with this system. Overall, we think that Maverick Gen 2 is taking a product that proved to the market it needed to exist and had a place in Maverick Gen 1. It watched the market grow around it, and now we are going to continue to do everything we can to continue to push the market.
One of our biggest goals with the Gen 2 is just to get these things in the hands of more people. This is one of the few products that we were often out of stock of, and every time it would hit the production floor, all the lathe guys would hate us for saying we had to make more Mavericks. Really, as a company, we just hope we can produce enough of these things to meet the demand so you guys can really see how good shooting a Maverick is versus anything else on the market.